I'm surprised that I've never talked about this on this channel, but I definitely want to get into it right now because I had some brews with the boys after work, and I'm fucking hyped up on conversation after being out at Chili's, going ham on some triple dippers and southwestern egg rolls and whatnot. You know what it is. So, theater versus film is something that I've had a lot of experience in both, and I have a huge passion for both. I have a love-hate relationship with theater, and I'm a diehard fan of film, so I'm kind of more biased towards film, but I love theater in countless ways when theater is doing what it does best. And I want to talk about both, my experiences in both, and just where I think they are. I want to get into how they're so alike and how they're so different in a lot of ways, and just give my my perspective on the differences that they have. I've been a huge fan of movies since I was a wee little toddler. I remember watching Jurassic Park when I was 4 or 5 years old, and certain movies from the first 10 years of my life just absolutely shaped how much I'm obsessed with the presentation of making films and the way that it can make life seem significantly more interesting. It's just, I fucking love it. And I've also done theater since I was 11 years old. I'm 32 now, but my first show was playing Winthrop in The Music Man when I was like 11 or 12, however old I was. And in middle school, my mom was a drama teacher at my middle school, but I had a real knack for it immediately. Theater was kind of one of those things, just being on stage, and live performance is always been a huge part of my life. And is why I'm very obsessed with it and might talk about it a lot and might just always be thinking about it. So, I also went to the high school that I went to was a school that focused on both. So when I was in high school for 4 years straight, I was doing a lot of theater and acting and film, and just working on videos and movies and all sorts of shit, and got so much insight into both. My high school years were so fun because it was nothing but a large dose of both things that I was very much in love with, which was film / television and theater. Because I have more experience in theater, and because I just have a lot more to say about it, I think I'm going to start off with that first, because that feels more appropriate for whatever reason. And theater I love doing. It's hard to watch it. The reason it's hard to watch is because theater is rarely not a slog. Theater is rarely not it's rare that theater isn't torturous and legitimately painful to sit and experience. It is 5% of theater to me is actually worth watching and paying attention to. Maybe 10%. I think majority of theater is extremely, extremely hard to watch because most theater actors, especially nowadays, aren't... I'm saying this as someone who doesn't watch a lot of theater too, or at least I haven't watched a live theatrical show in many years, so take all this with a grain of salt, obviously, but I've seen a lot of it. I've seen and done and been around a lot of theater. Theater is one of those things that is so challenging. It is the hardest art form to make good, in my opinion. It is the hardest fucking one. It's hard to be an actor on stage and really deliver on your performance that's gonna, sweep people off their feet or just, grab their attention. It's hard to write something that people are going to be okay with watching when their set doesn't change and it's just maybe like an hour and a half of people talking in a room. It's extremely hard to make it good. So that's why it's not really that good a lot of the time. While straight theater just doing straight plays versus musical theater are completely different. Both of them fall into these patterns of the people working on the productions assume that everyone understands like how theater is, or they don't. I don't think that they execute it or present it efficiently enough to, sometimes at least, a lot of the times I notice this, they don't execute it well enough to keep up with what people are conditioned to nowadays. And that's the hardest part. The hardest part is how fucking fast entertainment is nowadays, and how conditioned we are to the internet and being able to watch anything on streaming services, and just everything on TV and film is super quick when it comes to just the screen in general. The screen versus in person and live are completely different things as far as what people are conditioned to nowadays, and whether people are going to want to experience something that is just such a specific type of performance. Like live performing in live theater is such a specific vibe, and the performances themselves. Theater trained actors versus actors that work in film or TV from throughout their lives are completely different types of actors. I hate how trained theater actors are. I hate how a lot of times in musical theater and especially musical theater, you see people that are so trained to like react a certain way and be a certain way on stage, do a certain voice, and they're so trained that it comes off as so fake and bullshit. And I hate it. I hate how, unfortunately, theater not only attracts a lot of specific types of personalities and people that are just very insufferably annoying, that it's not only that, but the fact that because a lot of people that are focused on theater and dedicate their lives to it, because they spend a lot of money and time and energy dedicating themselves to theater, they listen to everything that they're told in school they take all that very seriously, and they listen to every bit of what teachers or directors or professors, whoever, they listen to what they're told. And if you watch actors, well-known actors, talk about like their experiences at Juilliard, for example, or a lot of these conservatories or specific theater schools, a lot of them like say how it ruins their love for acting, or it kind of fucks with like how they look at it, and that's a shame. It's a shame that theater is despite no one really giving a shit about it, and despite it being a fucking joke at this point, it's still got this like elitist, like, just like their nose up in the air snootiness about it. And it's like, theater is not, no one gives a fuck about theater anymore. Theater has been dead for a good amount of years now. Hamilton came out in 2016. That's the only thing that actually like made an impression on society and actually was able to like, grab people's attention. Everything else that we see, SpongeBob the musical and a bunch of crap that is just like, certain IPs that are taken from, again, film and TV and put on stage because they know that it'll at least sell tickets. Why are they not selling enough tickets? Because theater fucking sucks and it's very hard to watch nowadays. Just by today's standards, it's extremely hard to watch. When TV and film and all these things didn't exist in the early 20th century, they, at least like films, going to see the movies existed from a very early point. TV didn't exist till, I think, the 50s. And, or the 40s or 50s is when TV really started becoming a thing, and broadcasting, obviously. But even silent films, it wasn't common. You were able to see, theater was a lot more accessible than watching things on screen at a certain point, and only within 100 years has it completely flipped, where no one really cares. As a live musician myself for many years, I can tell you, people do not give a fuck about live performers anymore, because it's not that it's not good as what we see on screens, or it's not. It has nothing to do with the fact that it's not as interesting. It's that people are just conditioned to the screens. People are conditioned to seeing things on a flat surface and presented so perfectly. You look at videos on YouTube and it's like, it presented so professionally and so audio and video on a screen are so easily perfected now that anything outside of that perfection, it seems very it just seems not even flawed. It seems underwhelming. It feels very underwhelming because of how we're used to. You sit here watching me talk about this. Your brain is conditioned to the cut. You want me to cut away to another clip, or you want something to kind of pop up on the screen. You're conditioned to that. That makes sense because it's all we see nowadays. So what I mean is, it's funny as fuck that theater is like going to be a thing of the past probably very soon. And if it's not, it's only kept alive by people that are actually doing it or actually give a shit about it. But what I mean is, the general public does not give a fuck about live theater anymore. because it's not that good, or at least the people that are doing it and the people that are involved with it are not that good. They're not doing the same fucking shit that fucking Bernadette Peters and all these people, these Sondheim and all these geniuses were doing in that time. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious? You actually think any of these fucking performers in theater nowadays can hold a candle up to any fucking understudy or ensemble cast member of the 20th century when it comes to live theater? It's insane. It's fucking insane. And that's because theater is not only extremely limited as far as an actual audience that's there, but it's limited as far as people that want to get involved with it, and unless they're rich, basically. Basically, only rich, spoiled kids are able to like really pursue theater professionally, because they're the only ones that can afford, with the help of their parents, they're the only ones that can afford to live in New York while they audition and actually do this shit. You know, I'm not saying that everyone that does theater is that. I'm saying that's a majority of it. Or the people that are actually able, that have the accessibility to even be able to have the opportunities, to even have the time to even be able to like not worry about their survival. Like, the only people that are able to do theater seriously are again, either people that have dedicated their lives to it, and I'm saying this as someone who was like that close. I was that fucking close to being one of the people that I'm talking about right now. I auditioned for Juilliard. I was so fucking serious about doing theater for a living when I was 17. And then I did theater for the next 10 years or so, and it was a miserable experience, and I never wanted to do it again. You know, I was on and off. I didn't actually live off of doing theater, but it was a good part of what helped me survive. But the fact that, you know, wealthy kids that go to school for theater are not having to worry about their survival, and they're able to take the time and dedicate themselves to that, is a completely different thing. Even if I got into Juilliard, I probably wouldn't have been able to go because I can't afford that amount of money per semester. I can't imagine what it is now. This was in 2011 when I auditioned, so that was a while back. The prices are probably different with everything now, but man, I got out so much of what I've thought about theater for many fucking years. I got out so much of that in the last 10 minutes, and everything I'm saying is just my firsthand experience, and I'm not gonna lie, I have countless years of experience in theater. Theater is something that I love so much, and I kind of would love to start doing again, but I have such sour feelings from it. It was, and I kind of feel this way about my music career sometimes. I don't really feel this way anymore, but I feel this way with theater, especially. It was like a miserable like marriage that I was forced into for a while. As far as it was a big part of how I was making money, getting paychecks from doing shows and stuff. And it was a horrible marriage that I was sick of. And then when I finally did like my last actual theatrical performance in like 2019, it was such a good show that I just never wanted to do it again after that, so that I can at least like have at least one good memory from doing it. I had like, that was the only show that I thoroughly enjoyed, and it was Man of La Mancha. It was the only show where I thoroughly enjoyed my experience from start to finish, and every show and every moment of it, and the cast was great, and everybody, genuinely loved working with everybody in that show. And theater, I fucking love it. I just wish that that not even the people involved in it, but that the art form itself was treated with a much more thoughtful potential, like being thoughtful about the potential that it can have. And I think again, people are, the problem with this, the biggest issue with theater is it's so tech driven, and that's got to be a fucking nightmare for most directors. Whereas like a lot of directors at one point probably had producers and certain people helping them with the tech aspect of it. Nowadays, I don't know if directors can afford, like, I don't know if theater companies can even afford those types of people. So the director is worrying about everything. And the producer, usually they're just the ones throwing the money, and it's like some old rich person. So like, they don't give a fuck. So you got the director who's overstressed about all of it. You know, he's just like, and has an insane amount, they have an insane amount of stress, man, woman, whatever. They have an insane amount of stress over like the fact that they have to think about every little aspect of the show, and really they should just be focused on the fucking actors, the performances, and the story, and driving that, you know. And unfortunately, theater is all these companies are stretching themselves so thin that just paying the performers what the performers expect, when you're equity versus non-equity, people that are equity, it's basically the union for people in theater. It's the union that once you're equity. Once you're equity, you can you have to get paid a certain amount, and that's where like a lot of these companies probably stretched themselves so thin just hiring people at all that they can't, there's not much they can. It's all like bare minimum. They don't have like extra helping hands. People aren't necessarily like volunteering to do that shit. And if they are, they probably like when it comes to like legal things, they can't just like have people working. Like people can get seriously injured working in theater is the issue. People have been seriously injured. There was a fucking theater company here in South Florida where like I think they were doing Big River, and I think somebody was supposed to, I think that's the name of the show, and somebody was supposed to have a fake fucking razor, and they did, and they ended up using a real razor, and they got swapped, and someone got their hand slit, and they don't have any feeling in their hand now, and that's just so fucking unnecessary, and that shouldn't happen at all, and I'm genuinely, I'm very, very happy that I didn't get involved in theater, because who knows if I would have been a victim to something negligent with that as well. As a guitar player, my hands are pretty fucking important to me. So if something like that happened for me doing some fucking bullshit musical that is only going to be relevant for 2 or 3 months of my life, fuck you. That's some fucked up. There's a lot of negligence. I've gotten seriously injured working in shows. I was backstage of a show one time, and we were supposed to run off stage, and I couldn't see anything backstage because it was pitch black, no glow tape, no fucking lights, and I tripped on a fucking a little mini wooden stage, basically, that was completely like dark, in the dark, and I had no idea, and then I fell and ate shit and hit the fuck out of my knee. Like I landed on one of my knees and just got seriously injured, basically. And there's a lot of fucking incompetence in theater. This is the issue, is theater is the live performances in general. Live shows require zero fucking incompetence. They require zero fucking error. They need to be fucking perfect. And it's part of why, this is obviously a significant part of why I have a perfectionist mentality with a lot of things, and why I'm obsessed with things being that way. But theater kind of breaks you. It breaks you of any, like, you can't fuck up. You can't not be at your cues. You can't not be on stage at a certain point or show up. Just showing up. I've seen in some theater companies I've worked with and some of the shows I've done, I've seen people just not show up for shows, and so I've been a part of so many shows that were such a clusterfuck and so stressful, and I got sick a lot of times doing theater because of the stress, and it was awful. It was really awful. So yeah, theater is so amazing. It's just a bunch of jackasses doing it, a bunch of incompetent people that have no fucking idea what they're doing, and they think that they, are artists and think that they have some fucking like the worst part of all of this shit is how these people think that they're good. That's what pisses me off so much too, is like, that a lot of these people I'm talking about, they're total fucking idiots, have like the biggest egos in the world. It's so fucking hysterical. It's so hysterical. Theater people are so fucking egotistical, and they are like, so many of them are not good at all. Like, so many of them are so fucking bad. Not even bad, but their massive ego is their abilities are not backing up the massive ego that they have. That's all I will say. Theater can be. Let me get into some things that why theater is beautiful and why it's an amazing thing that should be appreciated instead of just shitting on the people that do it. This is where theater is now. It could be different. It could change, and I'm totally optimistic that things can change. But my cynicism and the realist that I am is always aware that will probably never happen, because I don't expect much from people, and I'm thoroughly disappointed by humanity, always, just purely because of their incompetence and the arrogance and audacity that they have despite being total fucking idiots. So anyway, theater is so lovely in how symbolic it can be, how abstract it can get, how it can do things that the screen, that presenting stories on screen can't. TV and film, in general, we are so conditioned to it being literal that anytime a movie is outside of that, or it's very abstract or trying to do something different, people come at it with torches and pitchforks because they're, again, so conditioned to movies being literal. Since movies have been made, we've been shown that, okay, this is like what you're seeing on screen is what's actually happening, and it's all like what's actually occurring for all these characters. Whereas theater, you can get away with so much, so many things that kind of are on the audience. Like the audience has to use their imagination, and they have to kind of participate with it in that way in order to get something out of it, and they have to kind of explore that. Theater allows the exploration of what you don't see and what you're not seeing in front of you. You know, theater forces you to use your imagination, and that's what my favorite thing is about it. That if you can get people to be interested in a story, and everyone's wearing nothing but all black and the set is minimal, if you can get them to be interested in that, that's extremely fucking profound. That is very important. That's incredible. Like, that's actually very fucking incredible if you can do that. Theater is allowed to do that. And I wish that I saw that more, because theater is just as literal as film and TV now, whereas like the set and the spectacle of all of it is really why a lot of people go. But again, as good as a spectacle can be from Hamilton, or as good as a spectacle can be on theater, in theater and on stage, it's never as good as it's going to be on screen. Screen is the visual, like there's nothing that's going to beat the visuals on screen, ever. But at the same time, the screen can never capture what the feeling, like how amazing it is of feeling to watch someone in person, or see an actual like a human being, an actual people's actual bodies and physical selves being in front of you. Why do people like to go see live concerts? Because they're seeing the fucking performer there, and it's completely different than just listening to them. So theater, it's so fucking lovely how it can get away with so much outside of the literal. It can get away with it, like countless approaches. Like, there's no limit to what your imagination can do with theater. Theater, it's as if the set is just the mind. It's like the theater itself is just the brain, and the brain is not just the brain itself. Like, the imagination and all of the intricate aspects of who we are, all of the neurons that fire off in our brains constantly every day. That's the exciting part about being a human being. All the stuff outside of what's physically just the brain. And I know this is absurd to say, it's because it's still happening within that physical aspect of it. But what I mean is all the things that we can't, like dreams and deja vu and all our subconscious, all the aspects of our brains that we can't define. That's what theater can do for us as human beings. That's what theater is kind of meant to do, at least, is help. I think it's meant to bring humans closer to what's outside of themselves. And movies and TV can do that as well, but it's way more clear cut and it's presented in a completely different way. Theater forces you to kind of sit with things. When you're watching a show, you can't just change the channel or turn it off. Like, unless you have to physically move your body and walk out of the theater if you don't want to experience it. But otherwise, like, you're forced to sit with it, and forced to sit with all of the mood that it's presenting, and all the feelings that it's exploring, all the emotions that the show is exploring, and all the themes and all that. So that's where theater can be so fucking awesome. It's so fucking lovely. I love theater so much when it is cool. Theater has so much potential to be cool as fuck. And people just don't do that, or people don't think about. They don't think about how can we make this more interesting, because they're so. The problem that I see, or that I imagine a lot of that I would have with working with, or the problem that I have when I see a lot of shows is it feels like the directors aren't. They're focused on their limitations, and they're focused again on like what's going on with the tech and the literal aspect of theater, that they never explore everything outside of it. And I fucking hate that. What a disappointment. What a shame that the very single thing that this art form thrives on, you're not going to take advantage of, is absolutely fucking ridiculous to me, and I feel shame for all of you people that aren't doing that shit as well as, even Broadway. Like, let's fucking talk about that. Broadway is not what Broadway was, in the 40s or 50s to the 80s and 90s. Like, for those like 50 years from the 40s to the 90s, Broadway was even into the 2000s. I remember seeing Broadway. I watched like Next to Normal with Alice Ripley live on Broadway. I watched another show called like Next Fall, which was a straight play on Broadway. Even that Next Fall wasn't totally incredible, but it was still worth seeing, and there was something there and something kind of interesting going on, even though it wasn't the best show that I had seen. Broadway in the 2000s even was something to be admired and something to be respected, and it's not that anymore because all they're doing is Disney shit, and they're forced to make money. The starvation of art is a lack of any money coming in. The starvation of art being what it could be, and why pretty much all industries are suffering right now, or why all industries fucking completely suck, or why they're just not as good. It's not even that they suck. It's just different, and it doesn't feel as good as it did at one point. And it's just because there's no income in it anymore. Art is being starved of all sorts of things because of the changing situation. Like, all of the industry is just changing constantly, and it's just a shame. And theater is like the ultimate example of that, where like it suffers so much without. It suffers a lot when it's bound by having to make money. The fact that it like has to make money means that people aren't just focusing on trying to make a good show. And even the ones that are making money, like Hamilton and shit, it's like they're charging like a fuck ton of money for each seat that people like myself can't go. So, theater should be a lot more accessible, and it should be. There should be a lot more of it, but like try to make it interesting and try to make it good. The theater has so much to work with in the limitations. That's why I am kind of the way I am when it comes to like independently creating things or making things on a very shoestring budget. I am such a diehard fan of that because of doing theater for so many years in my life, and doing minimalist, just like approaching things very minimally is such a lovely exercise as an artist. So, all right, I think I've said enough about theater. I clearly have mixed feelings about it because I love it and hate it so much equally. I hate it and love it so much. There's no other way to say it, and I don't think I have anything else to say about that topic at this point. So yeah, let's talk about movies. Movies are incredible as far as being able to achieve kind of like a what you have exactly in your mind. Only like when it comes to storytelling, being able to share stories through moving pictures. Only in that presentation can we really achieve like as close to what's exactly in our minds. Telling stories through the screen and having time to execute it and present it as specifically and as meticulously as you want means that it's able to be presented almost like just so in such a clean way. It's like immaculate. Like movies and TV can be so immaculately presented that people really tend to focus on that so much, I assume, when they're making movies, or the perfectionist movies are where having a perfectionist mindset or having that attitude and really wanting everything to be down to like every like frame, you want it to be so perfect. It lets you do that. Live theater, you're as a director, you're trusting the actors and the crew at some point, and your job is done. But you have to just trust that it's moving and it's actually like running smoothly. Directors, Tarantino. Look at Quentin Tarantino. He looks like such a because he writes and directs all of his own movies, he looks like he absolutely has to make everything exactly the way that he wants to, and that's why he is doing what he's doing, because he's good at that. He's just good at getting exactly what he wants out of the story he's trying to tell. And it's cool. It's cool to see that. Movies nowadays are again another industry that it's just being completely. It's not making any money, and all the streaming services are not making anything, and movies are suffering because of that. Because there are constant limitations. Where in 1998 or 99, whenever The Matrix started production, I assume maybe even, obviously, probably way before then, 96 or 7, doesn't matter. When Matrix was going into production, I believe it was Sony, whichever company was a big part of the production. They got an investment from a company, the Wachowskis, and they made a short film of basically as a pitch to bring back to the company, to prove to them that they can make the movie that they were telling them that they would make. The intro with Trinity in the first Matrix movie, that whole intro with her is all, there was I believe tens of millions of dollars put into just that first 20 minutes of the movie, and they made that and they brought it back to the investors as a way of showing them that they can come through with a movie. But the fact that those investors had to just trust them and just had to take a risk, the risk taking of films and telling TV, telling screens through telling stories through the screen, the risks that were taken were the most important part of why all of those movies were able to be made. The risks aren't there anymore, and it's because these companies aren't allowed to take, they can't take risks. Taking risks from a business standpoint nowadays is too extreme of a decision that there's no way to come back from that. And we've seen it. We've seen a lot of people, totally just plummet, nosedive as companies because they made a bad decision. So it's unfortunate that the risks being taken were at one point are not a thing anymore. And that the biggest part of that is just there's no money in both theater, film, all of these artistic industries, most artistic industries, any of them. There's no money in any of it. Not as much as there was, and not enough to motivate people to really want to keep doing it. So the only people that are able to do it are the ones with that accessibility for financial backing. And the ones that have that accessibility are not always the most talented fucking people. So it's the worst fucking situation where, there's no money. Whoever has the money doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, and they fucking suck, and they're a bunch of hacks, and they're a joke, and they have no fucking clue. Or they do have some. The people that are talented, thankfully, are getting the money that they need still. I'm not saying that it's only people that are hacky, but a lot of them are. It's a very large percentage of people that are doing movies and TV nowadays are hacky as fuck, and you got a lot of just low budget slop. And YouTube is the same fucking shit. Most people just end up watching YouTube than any of their streaming services because they don't even want to emotionally dedicate themselves to an actual story that might be impactful for them. It's too heavy. The weight of watching a movie or investing yourself emotionally into something like that is a lot heavier than watching someone like myself, some stupid jack-off, just talking on fucking screen and talking at the camera. It's so simple to throw YouTube on in the background and not think. Art is supposed to make you think, though. And YouTube and a lot of stuff that we see on streaming services as far as Netflix original series and a lot of stuff, the quality of the content is just so bad because they know that they don't have to really get people to think sometimes. They know that people are willing to watch just any bullshit that is in front of them. And it's sad. It's sad that their Netflix is one of those things. There are people out there that all they have is Netflix as a streaming service and they can't watch anything else. So what's on there? I guess I'll watch Love Island or whatever the fuck. I don't know if that's on there, but you know what I mean? They're just I guess I'll watch all this bullshit that's on here. There's nothing else to watch. We don't have anything else. So it's like we're all trapped in these fucking services that are not giving us any. They're giving us scraps of quality is all. The quality is just not fucking there. It's just not fucking there at all. And it sucks. It sucks because I love movies so much, and there's so many good movies being made still. I'm saying this, and yet I'm watching movies in recent years and recent television shows that I fucking love still. Can't say that about theater because you'd have to pay me to go see it at this point. It's very hard to have that desire. The only time I've watched theater as much as I have is when I was dating someone that kind of forced me to go watch it because they felt like they had to go and watch it and support their friends and support people. When really, every time I've watched a majority of shows in theater, I literally just want to fucking die. Like, it's so painfully boring. It is so fucking painfully boring. And movies aren't boring, but when they are, and a lot of them are nowadays, it's shocking how boring a lot of movies are. I'm blown away. I'm blown away at how much money is put into movies that aren't good. Why is the money going to this fucking dog shit Marvel crap? Or, just another Ben Affleck movie that isn't good. Like there's so many fucking movies that... Or you got moments like, situations like the Fantastic Four movie with Miles Teller and all of them from, like, what was that, 2016? Was that long ago already? Holy fuck. Or maybe it was 2019 or... No. It was like, 2019 or 2020 or... Anyway, maybe even more recent. It doesn't matter. The producers meddling with everything and fucking with that production. What a shame. These people that have money are so afraid to trust anybody that they end up, like, ruining their own fucking movie because they can't just trust the artists. The artistic trust with things nowadays is fucking gone. It's so fucking gone. Just trusting producers and executives, just trusting the director, or trusting the writers and the people that are working on it versus them who are they're just like throwing money at them. Just stop fucking with the artists. Stop fucking with their shit and let them do their thing. It's much better to let an artist have the freedom to do as much as they want with their movie or their story. And if it falls flat on its face, then that's fine. But if you don't let them have that freedom, then you'll never let them really flourish in that way. You don't let artists flourish when you are giving them this. It's like it's like a parent giving you $100, and you're a kid, right? Parent giving you $100, and they're just like, but you gotta spend it on this. I have to approve what you spend it on. It's like, and I know that's a stupid analogy because that obviously parents have to approve what kids, but it's like a friend lending you, like giving you money as a gift and then telling you what you should spend it on. That's like exactly how these industries seem. Is that the people with the money are just too fucking they're like clenching their pearls and they're just like, well, I don't know if I should let them do their thing. There are a lot of issues in movies. Movies can be so good in their simplicity. I watched Slacker a little while back, and I made a review video about it. If you want to check that out, you can find it on here. But Richard Linklater, certain filmmakers and people in general, like any artistic medium, when you're able to make something very, not even I don't want to say profound, but when you can make something interesting with very little money, that's the ultimate test of ability and talent and, honestly, the kind of love that you have for all of these things. If you don't have that kind of love for it with zero budget, then you're not going to have that kind of love for it with an endless budget. So, yeah. I guess that's all I have to say about that stuff. Theater and film. I'm so crazy about both of these things. Both industries are kind of... again, like I said multiple times already, all of these industries are kind of... they're in a chokehold. All these industries feel like they're in a chokehold. And they need to breathe. These industries need to breathe again, and they need to have freedoms and have... People have to have more of a fuck you, pay me attitude instead of a, yes, I'll work on your movie for next to nothing, or yes, I'll do your show for next to nothing because I'm so desperate to do something and for people to notice me. What a waste. What a fucking waste. Theater and film and storytelling is so goddamn important to me, and I'm so sick of just watching a lot of bullshit. I'm so sick of watching a lot of crap that I don't like. So